Okay, hey everyone. So I think we're live right now. Matt from soundrolling.com here with Carl from Lectrosonics. How are you doing, Carl?
Doing well, yeah. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. So I'm going to do a little no worries.
We'll hear our public announcements. Be right back.
Yeah, no problem. And for all of you that are watching right now, we're obviously live, so you can get in the comments below and ask your questions as well. I've kind of collated a load of questions from around the web and all the different forums. So we definitely have a lot to be going on with. Just explaining that people can comment below because we're live.
Yeah. Okay.
And so give us a bit more background about how this kind of unit came about, to have a recording device instead of like a wireless radio mic, for instance, that you're infamous for.
Sure. Well, of course, as you know, we have a long history of making radio mics, and we still make them. It's still the core of our business, the transmitters and receivers, and we have a wide array of those products. But for years, people have asked us for some type of recording device. We've seen other devices on the market, going back to Nagra, with Sync and things like that. So basically, it just kind of came from user demand over time that people ask for a pro level, compact as possible, Lectrosonics quality, recording device. So like most of our products, it comes out of a customer requests. But we also wanted to make it a little bit of a surprise. So we kept a lid on it as much as possible for as long as possible. And then Gordon announced it live at the Atlanta Sound Mixer on Sunday. And simultaneously, Howard Kaufman was up in Boston at an event hosted by Gotham Sound out of New York. So that was a lot of fun to sort of do a simultaneous live announcement. And we had prepped the dealers with the information, so they also pretty much simultaneously posted it. And that created a lot of buzz. Just all of a sudden, there it is, and there's all this information. But, in terms of the development, most products take a lot longer to develop than people know. This product originally was thought to be, it's not a wireless device, so it'll be relatively easy to design and build. Famous last words, pretty much. No matter what it is we're developing, even a minor accessory can take 3 times longer than you would think. But, we had to learn about timecode from scratch. We really haven't done much with timecode up until now. We really hadn't done a recording device. We leave that to the experts out there. Sound Devices and other companies make very good recorders. So we kind of had to start from scratch. And, the primary goals, again, were to make it really small, which turned out to be quite a challenge. And then we went with a AAA battery for that reason, to keep it as small as possible. But we also wanted to make it in the typical machined aluminum housing, so the result is something that looks a lot like, an SMQV. It's a little smaller than an SMQV. It's just a little bigger than our SSM, as a matter of fact. So, in fact, funny to mention that is we thought originally that we might put it in the SSM housing, since we already developed the housing and it's already got a battery and battery management and power supplies and all those things. But it really turned out that, first of all, we wanted to put the TA5 connector on it because that's common to all of the Lectrosonics transmitters other than the SSM. We also needed to put a timecode connector on it. We decided to go with the LEMO 5-pin, which is a standard. But those things drove the size. You really can't get a TA5 and a LEMO 5-pin into the SSM housing. Just too small. So that's what drove kind of the package design, if you will, was those factors, the connectors and the battery powering. We wanted it to be a common type of battery. So that gives you some background on the device.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's just go straight in with the battery. So with it's AAA, isn't it? With a AAA
right.
lithium, for instance, what's the kind of life expectancy or battery life?
We're finding a 6 to 6.5 hours runtime with a lithium AA. With an alkaline, 3 hours, something like that. So we expect that most people will use a lithium AA with it, and that's what we're going to ship with it.
Fantastic. And there's no way to have a battery emulator?
Not at this time. It's not something that we have developed yet, but we're getting requests for it, so we're going to be looking at that.
Cool, yeah, because I saw that around the different forums, but still managing to get like 6 to 8 hours is pretty impressive for one run. Hopefully one take wouldn't be that long, so.
One would hope not.
Yeah, so you have enough time to to change stuff around. And just talk to me about the time code and what happens in conjunction with battery going down and time code settings, and what metadata can we use in this unit? How is everything kind of stored?
Yeah, the way it's stored is there's very simple naming scheme. It's basically numerical, and it's going to be an increment numerical name scheme. It's pretty simple. In terms of when the battery dies, you would need to rejam it afterwards. Okay, so it's not going to keep running without a battery. But the way it's jammed is pretty simple. It's going to pick up your frame rate from a jam. You would just go into the menu, select jam, and plug it in, and it's pretty much instantaneous. It's going to pick up whatever that information is and run with it as long as the battery is good and running. So that's the basics.
Okay, fantastic. And I'm just looking at my notes from what I gathered from other parts of the forum. So it's only a mono signal. So we have this kind of stereo.
That's correct. No stereo. There's only a mono mic preamp, so there's really no way to get a stereo signal into the unit. But there are two different modes for recording. One is what we call HD mono, which is going to be pretty much just the same thing as a transmitter input, like an SMQB input. It's got a 105 dB dynamic range before limiting, and then there's 30 dB of limiting on the top. So we expect that most people will use that method. It also saves track time, if you will. It's not as much data that it's recording. Then there is what's called split gain. We know that there's other devices that do this, and in a sense, it's a way of providing insurance, that if you want to run without limiters, which some people do, they don't want limiters in the signal path at all, you can set the gain so that your highest peaks maybe clip the very hot input side. And then there's another track being recorded at minus 18 dB. So that's going to be the one that if someone screams suddenly or there's a loud bang or whatever in the scene, you can then pull that second track and take your dialogue from that, and it's going to be undistorted.
Okay,
so that's the idea.
And that would save as like a stereo file, or are these both?
It saves as a stereo file. That's right.
Okay,
it doesn't weave them together. You would need to do that in post.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Just keeps it nice and neat.
Right.
And I've heard a lot of stuff about recovery mode. Is that
ability to do 96K would require hardware revision and draw more power and some other issues that we felt were really not worth the trade-off at this point for the first unit. Down the road, we'll see where this goes. People have asked for stereo, they've asked for higher sample rates and so on. We'll just have to see. This unit can't do that, but maybe a future unit will.
Yeah, it's already covering all the bases for dialogue, which is what it was kind of purpose built for. So it seems like everything else is a bit of a bonus, which is always good.
Sure.
No, go on, sorry.
No, so, what we haven't talked about is the file format itself. It's doing a broadcast wave. That's the dot wave, but it's the broadcast format, so it captures the metadata like the time code and so on, and the naming.
Fantastic.
So it's pretty standard. You don't need any kind of add-ons or anything to decode that file. I mean, you can listen to it right on your Windows machine, without doing anything. So it's kind of handy. We decided to do that uncompressed and wave format.
Fantastic. That's going to make everything so much easier to not have to bother converting or only using specific software.
Exactly.
And people are just asking, they're keen to get their hands on it. How can people start to go about doing that? I know that you said that some of the dealers already have it in the US, I guess, as well. Yes. Maybe just talk about worldwide kind of rough delivery dates, if you have them, or?
Sure enough. So at this time, we're waiting for the final paperwork for the CE approval. We think that's imminent, probably within a matter of days. It's been submitted to the lab and all that, but we didn't want to hold up the initial announcement, for that paperwork, which sometimes takes longer than we expect. But basically, the unit is compliant with CE rules. We have orders from some dealers in Europe. We expect to see a lot more orders now that the announcement is out there and they know what it is and they see all the chatter and the interest in it. But yeah, we have delivered a small number of units already to some US dealers, and some of our export dealers are getting their first units here this week as well. So it's out there, and we've got a bunch more in production, of course. It's impossible to estimate the demand for a new product, but we did our best guess, and now that we see the real demand, we're cranking up the factory And so we'll have a bunch more out this month, and then obviously December is when it's really going to hit full swing.
Fantastic. And you're also able to get a line out, I believe, from the recorder as well as like a backup for a camera?
Sure thing. So the headphone jack here, which is the threaded type that could be used with a locking connector, you can put your headphones in there and then adjust your volume using the menu functions, or you can select a line output, which then fixes the level at a line output level. And you could then cascade that to another recorder, a backup unit, a transmitter, a camera, anything you want. And we've got this accessory cable to go to a transmitter that's not locking, but someone could easily add a locking connector here. But it goes to our TA5 type input. And if you set your transmitter at 22, which is the factory default, you have unity gain through your system. So it's all kind of designed with that in mind.
Fantastic. And is there any kind of latency with using that output at all?
No, it's analog on the way out if you're running line out, so no latency at all. And whatever's in the transmission path at that point would be your only latency.
Okay, fantastic. That pretty much does just wrap up my quick little intro to it. I don't know if you have anything else you wish to share other than whatever else has been said before around the forums, just to deal with the unit.
Yeah, let me think. One comment that we got back from a couple people that beta tested it was they were surprised by the sound quality. Of course, we weren't surprised to hear that because we put a high quality mic preamp in there. It's very quiet, very low noise, again, 105 dB signal to noise before limiting, which is quite good. And 24-bit 48K, gives you very, very good results. If you got good topology, which they spent a lot of time developing it. And frankly, that's what held it back towards the end of the development cycle. Was we just weren't happy with it until, we really felt that it was delivering really good audio. So we're proud of the way it sounds, and, used with a good quality mic and your gain structure set right, I think people will be very pleasantly surprised how good it sounds.
Fantastic. And in terms of just some of the situations that you're expecting your users to take on board, or any of your beta testers have used, what kind of situations have they been put in?
Mostly at this point, it's film dialogue situations, like you would expect. It's our core audience, it's trusted friends that basically put the unit into play in their normal work environment. But we expect this thing to get heavily into extreme sports, is what we're kind of seeing. And that's why some of our initial campaigns, they say run free, HD audio anywhere, and they show pictures of motocross and snowboarding and things like that. Because there's already wonderful video technology out there for that stuff. Anything from GoPros to higher end cameras, being used for extreme sports. But, capturing on the body good quality audio, I think has not really been available. I mean, you could put a Zoom recorder in someone's pocket or whatnot, but this gives you the opportunity to use a professional lav mic, in a very, very compact and tough system. So that's one place where we see it going, along with, again, the core market of people using this as a backup recorder, or in situations where they maybe can't use a wireless, or a wireless is impractical. We expect, for instance, professional videographers, maybe wedding guys, to use this device. So really, the markets that are going to be excited about this we don't even know all of them yet. But we're getting the biggest response from our typical core customers at this time. The rest of it remains to be seen once the word kind of gets out, and some of the dealers like B&H, they've got a lot of reach into various facets of videography. They'll probably end up doing very well with this. So it's pretty exciting to have a different kind of product and anticipate what's coming in terms of market acceptance. We don't know yet, but it seems to be very positive.
And was there any consideration in terms of making it like a waterproof housing for extreme sports? Was there any sort of thoughts on, I don't know, like making a specific version just for extreme sports, and one that's like the one you have now, which is kind of a more comfortable actual pack to wear?
We've talked about that, and at this point, we haven't begun development of a watertight housing, but it's a distinct possibility. I mean, fortunately now there's already Aquapacks and other things that people could do if they wanted to kind of waterproof it. You know, there's the old unlubricated condoms thing. It's very small, so it's easy to put in there with a couple rubber bands. I mean, you could do a number of things to make that happen. But yeah, it's something we're discussing. You know, as we see again the market acceptance and who's really going to be getting this thing or interested in it, obviously the product line will evolve.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, I think, oh yeah, someone literally just posted now about a waterproof version.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So how much control is that over gain? So just in terms of just setting your gain, is it like a standard Lectrosonics where we can increment all the way from zero? Is it 0 to, I don't know where it goes up to, 35?
0 to 44 typically, and yes, it's just like a transmitter input, same kind of topology. So yes, you've got 1 dB increments of gain from 0 to 44 with this unit. So 44 dB of gain range, which, by the way, interesting you asked, because just yesterday we posted a video about the importance of setting your gain properly on a transmitter. And it's the same thing here. You want to have good gain structure, and I think that's obviously situation dependent in how you would set it. But, you know, again, you've got the 2 different modes. So there's a lot of freedom there for people that, you know, let's say expert users that really want to get the most out of the unit. Plenty of freedom.
Fantastic. And so just again to recap, like, do you have rough pricing and when it will be available in the US and then in Europe? It's
Sure.
Next week for the US and?
Yeah, it's available at US dealers right now in small quantities. You know, we took the first batch we made, we divvied them up to the dealers that had ordered last week. And so those units shipped Friday and they're getting into dealers' hands now. As far as I know, all of those units are sold out. So because dealers have already reordered, you know, 2nd and 3rd orders following those up. So the excitement's there. Again, small numbers have gone out to European dealers as well. I believe some of those left yesterday, some are leaving today. To be honest, the European dealers haven't ordered as many as we thought. So I think that it's a wait and see thing. They want to see what's happening, and I totally understand that. So I think as customer demand rises, you know, those orders will come in. So all I can say to those thinking about getting it and wanting to see it at their local dealer, go prod the local dealer and say, hopefully you have these on order, right? You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, again, that helps us plan production. If we know what dealers need and when they need it, you know, obviously we're going to be cranking up the production.
Fantastic. And we've had a question just from Austin who asked, do the limiters and high pass filter go into effect at the preamp or at the ADC? So the, I guess, analog digital converter.
They're in the preamp, like our transmitters. That's analog circuitry there. So that's pre-AD conversion.
Fantastic. And Vincent has asked, can you control it with a phone app?
Good question. And the answer is yes. New Indian will be issuing a new app. I don't know if it's there yet. I haven't checked today, but you know, they were developing it quietly in the background with the idea of announcing it soon, or, you know, soon after the product came out. So there will be an app, and it should control the basic functions of the unit, start, stop, and so on, and sleep mode and these kind of things. So yes, there will be a phone app out, and it's going to have the Dweedle tones similar to what you see with the transmitters going through the microphone.
With the RM, fantastic. Yep. And in terms of just your beta testers, I'm just trying to think about just keeping files, because the files are numeric. How have people been keeping track of which file is with which scene? Are they, when they're using it in combination, are they putting it in their metadata, or how do you foresee just keeping track of quite a few takes a day?
Yeah, I honestly don't know how they're managing that process. I did not ask them that. It was more about the unit and the physical aspects, and did it work? Did it sound good? Did you have any problems with it? We haven't got that far. So I think that's going to be something people have to figure out, is how their workflow is, and, you know, how they keep track of files. I'm not sure how those guys did it though.
Okay, no, that's cool. That's cool. It only came out like a couple of days ago. So.
Right. Yeah, we have a lot to learn about this thing.
Yeah. No, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for everyone that was commenting as well. I thought I'd keep this nice, short and sweet, and I'll post up your link about obviously setting the appropriate audio gain and a few other places where people can find more information. I've had more like behind the scenes videos from some of the events as well, which has been really cool. But thanks very much, Carl. And I don't know if, again, if there's anything else that's kind of on the tip of your tongue about the unit, but I think we've pretty much covered everything. So
yeah,
far.
let me just make a comment about the micro SD cards that it accepts. We
yes.
found that they require class 10 speed, and the HC type are the ones. So we're supplying it with a 16 gig card that meets those specs. But if people are looking at getting this unit and want to get a couple extra cards, we'd recommend either the 16 or 32 gig HC class 10 cards. And the ones that we found to be good are SanDisk and the usual good quality units. But because of the uncompressed and the sample rate and everything like that, the cheaper low speed cards will not work very well, just to warn you. So it's like most high-end recorders, it's card dependent. You want to get a good one, and the information's in the manual and on the data sheet, so it shouldn't be any ambiguity. But I figured I'd just mention it if people are going to stock up on cards in advance.
Yeah, definitely. Buy once, cry once is my motto with all gear.
Right. Yeah, that's good advice.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much again. And I'm going to end the broadcast here, and we can have a little chat afterwards. But again, thank you very much. And you're free to say thank you and goodbye to everyone else.
See ya.